Hello everyone, and welcome to Fictional Vortex. So we are back with an interesting series on what if Naruto had the eye of the hunter god. But before we start, I just want to remind you to please subscribe to my channel and hit the like button if you enjoy my content. Let's start the story. Naruto gasped as he saw Satsuki jump in front of him, taking the senbon that had been heading his way. Satsuki, why? Naruto yelled. Satsuki looked up at him. Don't. No. Why? Body just moved. Please. Kill. Itachi. Satsuki gasped. Her breathing stopped, her gaze, which had previously been focused on Naruto, now blank. Satsuki? Naruto rasped, tears trickling down his face. No response. Satsuki? Naruto roared, his voice now deep and rumbly. Naruto's mindscape. Naruto looked around. He suddenly found himself standing in a dark sewer, the sound of a constant drip reaching his ears. Where am I? I was just on the bridge with Satsuki. Wait. Satsuki. Naruto yelled, looking around. All he heard was a dark chuckling, coming from down the tunnel. Naruto turned and ran down the tunnel, soon emerging in a massive room, with a set of barred doors spanning the whole room a few dozen feet in. Behind the bars were two eyes, with red iris and slitted pupils. Kyuubi? Naruto stuttered out, almost forgetting about the situation on the bridge. Almost. Got it in one. Kit. Why am I here? I need to go back to the bridge. Satsuki is dead. I need to avenge her. Naruto asked, his voice rising till he was yelling. Calm down, Kit. She's not dead, just in a false death state. Kyuubi responded. HMPH. Fine. Let me out of here. Fine, but you need some of my power. Without it, you are pathetically weak. Most academy students could probably beat you. The Kyuubi snorted, sending out a red tendril of chakra. Naruto, instead of just absorbing it, mentally reached out and started sucking the red chakra in as fast as he could. Kit. Stop. Kyuubi roared, but it was too late. Naruto doubled over screaming in pain. On the bridge, Naruto doubled over screaming in pain. 9 golden fox tails with white tips forcing their way out of his tailbone. His ears extended into golden fox ears that reached just above his head, his eye turning red, with his pupil becoming white with 4 white dots a quarter the size of the pupil on top, bottom, left, and right, and his fingernails turning into claws, his canines becoming longer and sharper. Haku looked on in horror and the demonic Naruto looked over at him, snarling. A large blast of purple chakra cannoned out of Naruto's hunched form, shattering the mirrors and pushing back the water release. Hiding in the mist technique, before dissipating. For Naruto, everything slowed down, and he lunged at the fake Hunter Nin, who seemed to be moving at half speed, while he was moving normally. He bowled over the Hunter Nin, and tore off their mask, time continuing at normal speed. Haku? Naruto asked in a demonic tone. Haku nodded. I have failed, Zabuza-sama. Please kill me, Haku said. Naruto narrowed his eyes, then pulled out a kunai. While he was not being controlled by the demonic chakra, courtesy of merging with the Kyuubi, he was still very angry, momentarily forgetting that Satsuki was still alive. Naruto's hand rose, and he was about to stab downwards, when the sound of chirping birds reached the ears of Naruto and Haku. Without saying anything, Haku pushed Naruto away, then dashed towards the sound. Naruto blinked, then rushed after Haku. Unfortunately, he was not used to his new speed without the slowed time perception, and he shot past Haku. As he turned to look back at said male, one of his feet slid on a patch of black ice, and he stumbled into a slide, inadvertently slamming into Kasumi's legs, collapsing her on top of Naruto, right as she thrust her arm towards Zabuza. Her 1,000 birds, which was going to impale Zabuza through the heart, went through his right leg instead. Sorry, Kasumi-sensei. Naruto yelled as Kasumi landed on him, inadvertently elbowing him in the gut. Naruto reflexively curled up, his ears pressed to the side of his head, his now dirty tails wrapping around him, pinning Kasumi against his chest. Naruto, is there something you have to tell me? Kasumi asked, semi-sarcastically. I'll tell you as soon as I figure it out. Naruto grunted, uncurling his body and standing up, letting Kasumi slide off him and onto the ground, where she quickly scrambled to her feet. From the mist on the bridge, slow clapping was heard, and a midget emerged, followed by dozens of thugs. Zabuza. I'm disappointed. I hired you to kill the Leaf Ninja, not get beaten. Kill everyone on the bridge, Gato said, leaning heavily on his cane, his last sentence directed to the thugs on the bridge, all of whom cheered and rushed the ninja. Gato! Naruto roared, charging forward, claws extended. Upon reaching the first thug, Naruto lashed out, slicing through their throat. Kit! Hold on a second. Kyuubi roared. Naruto paused momentarily, and a flood of information entered his brain. Naruto considered something for a few brief moments, then sent chakra to the tips of his tails, blue flames appearing a few inches above each one. Devil style. Fox fire emerging net technique, Naruto called. The 9 globes of fire all shot in front of Naruto, where they lengthened and wove together, forming a blue flaming net. The net surged forward, pushing all the thugs together, before it exploded, washing the bridge in blue fire. When the smoke cleared, all that was on the bridge was a blackened and lightly smoking Naruto, and burnt corpses. Satsuki-chan. A high-pitched voice sounded. Naruto and Kasumi's dogs winced and covered their ears. Sakura-chan. Naruto yelled happily, rushing towards the pink-haired banshee, who was currently pulling Senbon out of Satsuki's motionless body. Shut up, Naruto baka. Sakura screeched, before looking over at the blonde boy, then turning pale. Why do you have tails and dog ears? She screeched, slightly quieter this time. I would like to know that as well, Naruto. Kasumi said, emerging from the mist, followed by Zabuza and Haku. Naruto sprung to his feet, baring his teeth and extending his claws. Don't worry, Naruto. I had a talk with them, and convinced them to come to Konoha with us and become ninja. Kasumi explained, making a calming motion with her hands. Okay Kasumi-sensei, Naruto replied with a grin. You look like an idiot, Dobi. Satsuki rasped out. Satsuki-chan. Sakura cried, dragging the unwilling girl into her embrace, smooshing Satsuki's face against her bony chest. Sakura, you might want to let Satsuki go. You're suffocating her, Kasumi said dryly. Sakura eeped and released Satsuki, who fell backwards and smacked her head against the ground, rendering her unconscious. Satsuki-chan. Sakura wailed. In the background, everyone's sweat dropped. Kasumi soon turned her gaze to Naruto, narrowing her visible eye at him. Explain. She said in a no-nonsense tone. 1 second. Naruto said, sitting down and closing his eyes. Naruto's mindscape. Naruto opened his eyes and found himself standing in front of the Kyuubi's cage. Kyuubi. Why'd I look like this? Naruto asked the kitsune, who was looking at him out of the corner of its eye. Simple. When I gave you some of my chakra, you took more of it than I intended to give you, and ended up merging our chakra. Both of our chakra reserves are now the size of my former amount of chakra multiplied by your former amount of chakra. In other words, we both most likely have more chakra than anything in existence. For your eyes, your dojutsu finally awakened. Okay. Wait, dojutsu? Naruto asked, doing a double take. Yes. The Oikamagen, or Eye of the Hunter God. You got it from one of your parents, whichever one was the Uzumaki, as they had the dojutsu. What does the Oikamagen do? Asked Naruto. The Kyuubi sighed and proceeded to explain all that he knew of the Oikamagen. Wow. Naruto chuckled, scratching the back of his head and grinning sheepishly. Ow. Naruto whined, pulling his hand away from the back of his head and looking at the claws, which had a small amount of blood on the tips from where he accidentally cut the back of his head whilst scratching it. How'd I, make my fox features and dojutsu disappear? Asked Naruto. Just focus on your normal appearance, and you can switch back and forth between your human and Hanyu forms. For your eyes, just stop sending chakra into them. Kyuubi grunted, closing its eyes. On the bridge a minute after Naruto sat down and closed his eyes, he glowed slightly golden, and his fox features slowly receded, and unseen to all the others, his eyes changed back to the normal blue. Naruto stretched and stood up. What? He asked, seeing everyone looking at him. What happened? Kasumi asked yet again. I merged with my, tenant, and voila, Naruto explained. What tenant? Screeched the nosy banshee. If I told you, I'd have to kill you, Naruto said. HMPH. Fine, Naruto baka. Satsuki's better than you anyways. Sakura huffed, turning away from him. Alright everybody. Let's go back to Tazuna's house and heal up, then we can go back to Konoha. Kasumi said, picking up Satsuki and walking back to the house. Time skip. Konoha gates, undetermined amount of time between 7 to 10 days. Katetsu and Izumo were bored. Very bored. I'm so bored, nothing exciting ever happens around here. Groaned Katetsu. Oh shut up. This is the easiest job in the whole village. We're paid to eat dango and play shogi. Izumo replied, before he caught sight of 6 figures walking down the road towards Konoha. Hey, is that Kasumi's team? Yay, it is. I can see Naruto's jumpsuit. Wait, is that Zabuza Momochi with them? Izumo asked, shouted, straightening in his seat. Both Chunin waited nervously until the group, led by Kasumi, walked over to them. Team 7 reporting back from our mission. These two are with us, Kasumi said, not looking up from her book. Okay. Katetsu replied dumbly, signing everyone in. Bye guys. Naruto called as the team headed to the Hokage Tower. Hokage Tower. We're back. GG, Naruto called as he busted open the doors to the Hokage's office. Naruto. Don't speak to Hokage-sama like that, Sakura hissed. Naruto-kun. I trust your mission went well? The old Hokage responded with a grandfatherly smile. Yup. We even ran into these two and convinced them to join the village, Naruto energetically said, gesturing to Zabuza and Haku. Hiruzen, who had just taken a sip of tea, spat out his mouthful, his eyes widening, the tea spraying all over the closest person to him, who happened to be Naruto. Naruto, however, expected this, and nimbly danced out of the way, resulting in a tea-covered Sakura. Naruto baka. The tea-covered pinkette screeched, causing the office windows to crack. But I sent you on a C-rank mission, not an A-rank, the elderly Hokage said. It was upgraded, but we still finished it. Kasumi replied, finally closing her ever-present orange-covered book. Very well. You are dismissed. Zabuza, young lady, please stay here, the Sandame said. The last thing everyone heard before the door closed was Haku. Hokage-sama. I'm a boy. Time skip. Naruto's apartment. Naruto threw open the door to his graffiti-covered apartment, and strode in, slamming the door, then grabbing his watering can, meticulously watering all of his plants, before setting his kettle on the stove to boil for a cup of instant ramen. After exactly 3 minutes and 26 seconds, he'd timed it, Naruto's water was ready, and he poured the bubbling liquid into his styrofoam cup of yumminess, before grabbing his chopsticks and pulling out a mouthful of ramen, blowing on it to cool down. Just before he took his first bite, there was a dinging, signaling that someone had rung his doorbell. Whoever it is better have a good reason for interrupting my consumption of the food of the gods, or I'm gonna tear them a new one. Naruto thought viciously. He reluctantly set down his cup, and walked over to the door and opened it. Standing there was a pretty brunette, with red fang tattoos on her cheeks, and a white puppy with brown patches on its ears resting on her hair, which went down to just past her shoulders, and was held in a spiky ponytail. Oh, hi, Kabana, Akamaru. Naruto greeted with a smile, not noticing Kababa's faint blush. Come on it. You want something to eat? I made ramen, Naruto said, letting Kabana step inside. Sure. Akamaru will take some water, Kabana said, setting down her four-legged companion. Naruto smiled and grabbed a bowl, which he filled with water and set on the table, which Akamaru jumped on and started drinking. So, I heard that your C rank got changed to an A rank, Kabana said, pulling out a chair and taking a seat. MMHMM. Naruto responded succinctly, his mouth filled with noodles. After swallowing, he proceeded to tell Kabana everything that happened during the mission, including what happened with the Kyuubi. The reason Naruto told Kabana everything was because they had been friends since they were 5, when they met at a park, which was empty because the demon brat had entered it, until Sume, not caring what everyone thought of Naruto, brought Kabana to play. Wow. So you and the Kyuubi now have the biggest chakra reserves out of everyone living today? Kabana exclaimed. Yep. Although my chakra control is absolutely horrible now, so I'm gonna have to work on that, Naruto revealed. Alright. Have fun with that. You still on for sparring at Training Ground 3 tomorrow afternoon? Kabana asked, standing up and stretching, inadvertently making her generous bust bigger. Why yep. See you then, Naruto replied, blushing heavily. Okay. Wait, why are you blushing? Kabana asked suspiciously, before realizing why, and blushing as well. Pervert. She muttered, looking away. Hey, it's not my fault you're a hot girl. Naruto responded, before realizing what he said and clapping his hands over his mouth. What? Why you? Why? Kabana stuttered, before scooping Akamaru up and putting him in her coat. Well, by Naruto-kun, she said, before clapping her hands over her mouth and rushing out the door. Why yay. Bye. Naruto said dreamily, still blushing like a tomato. Time skip. Training Ground 3. Next day Naruto huffed for air and picked himself up off the ground. He and Kabana had been sparring for the past 2 hours, and both of them were covered in dirt, bruises and cuts. Here we go. Naruto yelled, crossing his fingers. Shadow clone technique. Naruto yelled, hundreds of clones popping into existence around him. Let's go, Akamaru. Passing fang over fang. Kabana yelled, the ninja and her ninken turning into horizontal tornadoes, both destroying dozens upon dozens of clones, before Kabana finally crashed into the real Naruto. Unfortunately for her, and fortunately for Naruto, Kabana was low on chakra, and just as she hit Naruto, she stopped spinning. The duo tumbled down to the torn-up ground, rolling over a few times, and landing so Naruto was holding himself over Kabana, their lips pressing against the other person's. Both blushed, but Naruto, feeling extremely daring, didn't pull back, and instead deepened the kiss, slowly closing his eyes. Kabana, who had just invented a new shade of red, stiffened for a few seconds, then melted into the kiss, fisting her hands in Naruto's hair. Both pulled back moments later, faces red. Sorry. Naruto gasped, unconsciously licking his lips, before standing up and backing away, eyes wide. Seeing how nervous Naruto was, Kabana gained a fair-sized amount of confidence, and narrowed her eyes in thought. Assuming that her lack of response and glare was a sign of anger, Naruto turned and started running away. Kabana jumped to her feet and grabbed his shoulder and spun around, then crashed her lips into his, pulling his body flush against hers. After a few seconds she pulled back, grinning. See you tomorrow, same place, same time, she said, before grabbing Akamaru and leaping into the trees. Wow. Naruto said dumbly. Nice job, Kit, Kyuubi said. Thanks, Kyuubi. Naruto responded. Kurama. The now named Kurama corrected him. Oh, okay. Thanks, Kurama, Naruto said, before heading home. Time skip. Training Ground 3. Next day Naruto yawned and stretched his arms over his head, noting his increased muscle mass, once again courtesy of Kurama. Huh. Where's Kabana-chan? She's never late, Naruto muttered to himself. Suddenly Naruto heard a rustling behind him, and turned to see Kabana leaping out of the tree towards him, a kunai extended. Naruto rolled backwards, drawing a kunai as he did. Huh. Missed. Naruto crowed triumphantly. HMPH. You just got luck, Kabana grumbled. Naruto, getting an idea, threw his kunai at Kabana, then focused on his Kurama mode, as he liked to call it, as of now, when he came up with the name. He growled as 9 golden fox tails sprouted out of his tailbone, his canines lengthened, his fingernails becoming claws, and his ears turning into golden fox ears. What the H? Kabana started, but was cut off as Naruto tackled her, batting Akamaru out of the air as he leapt at Naruto to protect his master. Got you, Naruto growled, roughly slamming Kabana onto the ground, a clawed hand at her neck, using the rest of his body to pin her to the ground. Peef, you cheated, Kabana protested, frowning. Says who? Naruto retorted. Me. Kabana trailed off, blushing slightly. Naruto, seeing her blush, grinned savagely and decided to have some fun. He bared his teeth and lowered his mouth to her neck, brushing his teeth along the sensitive skin. Dead. Naruto trailed off, not expecting Kabana's response. Naruto-kun. Stop. Kabana gasped. Naruto blushed, but kept going, lightly nipping at her neck, going higher until he reached her jawline. Damn it, Naruto-kun. Kabana moaned lightly, before tilting her chin downwards and capturing Naruto in an awkward lip lock. Naruto blushed and slid upwards so the kiss was less awkward, before deepening it. Kabana's hand fisted in his hair, and she daringly pushed her tongue into Naruto's mouth. Shocked, Naruto did nothing, before responding in kind, before they pulled back from a lack of air. Before either person could say something, a loud shriek pierced the air. Naruto Baka. Where are you? Kasumi-sensei said we have a team meeting at Training Ground 7, Sakura shrieked. Naruto winced and retracted his fox features. Sorry, Kabana-chan. I'll come find you in a bit and tell you when we can spar again, Naruto said with a sheepish grin, putting the word spar in air quotes. Okay. See ya, Naruto-kun, Kabana replied, before dragging Naruto in for a kiss. Naruto Baka. What are you doing to Kabana-san? Sakura shrieked, having come upon the kissing couple. Nothing. Bye Kabana-chan, see you tomorrow, Naruto hurriedly explained, giving Kabana a parting kiss, before sprinting towards Training Ground 7. Training Ground 7. Naruto arrived at Training Ground 7, followed by a panting and sweating Sakura a few minutes later. Hi Kasumi-sensei. Satsuki Teme, Naruto exclaimed, waving happily at said people. Naruto Baka. What were you doing to Kabana-san? Sakura shrieked before Naruto could clap a hand over her mouth. What's this I hear about someone doing something to Kabana-chan? A feminine voice asked. Naruto, Satsuki and Sakura all looked over towards the forest, and saw two figures emerging. One was Kurenai Yuhi, Konoha's genjutsu mistress. The other was Anko Mitarashi, the snake whore. Nothing, Naruto exclaimed, blushing heavily. What's this? Does the Gaki have a girlfriend? Anko asked in a slow, sensual voice. No. Although I hope I do. Naruto replied indignantly, the last part muttered to himself. Naruto, Satsuki, Sakura. I have called these two here to help train you all in your individual abilities, Kasumi said, interrupting any further talk between Naruto and Anko. You all probably know me, but I'll reintroduce myself anyways. My name is Kurenai Yuhi, Konoha's genjutsu mistress. I'll be instructing Sakura in genjutsu, the black-haired woman said with a small smile and a slight bow. Hi. I'm Anko Mitarashi. I do torture and interrogation. I'll be training the Gaki to be the best ninja around, Anko exclaimed with a grin and cute wave. Yay. Naruto muttered under his breath. What was that, Gaki? Anko asked sweetly, appearing behind Naruto with a kunai pressed to his jugular. Nothing, muttered Naruto, blushing at the feeling of her soft chest against his back. You all know me. Satsuki, you're with me, Kasumi said. All right. Gaki, we're going to Training Ground 44. Let's get a move on, Anko exclaimed, running towards the forest of death, dragging a crying Naruto behind her. Why there? Anywhere but there, Naruto's screams faded into the distance. Training Ground 44. All right, Gaki. For the next week this place will be your home. Training starts now, Anko exclaimed, pulling a pack of senbon out of nowhere, before throwing them at Naruto. Ah. At least warn me before you start trying to kill me, Hubei, Naruto exclaimed, running up a tree. Ah. So you remember that. Don't think that I will go easy on you now, Naru-kun, Anko exclaimed, throwing senbon even faster and more accurately than before. Shit. Naruto screamed. Time skip, Training Ground 44 a week later. Alright. Naru-kun. You did good. Your dodging skills skyrocketed, you're a lot faster and stronger, and your chakra control is quite high, Anko started. Yay. That's because you chased me up a waterfall while throwing explosive kunai at me, Naruto exclaimed, dodging a swat aimed at the back of his head. Shut up, Naru-kun. As I was saying, you did quite well, all things considered. Now, we're going back to Training Ground 7. Let's go, Anko shouted, jumping on Naruto's back, kicking him with her heels like a horse. Hubei. Why? Naruto whined, starting to run. Training Ground 7. Naruto and Anko were the last ones to arrive at the training ground. When they arrived, they saw Sakura sitting on a log, a few feet away from Kurenai. Satsuki was brooding in a tree, and Kasumi was sitting on the log post, reading her book and giggling perversely. Both Satsuki and Sakura's clothes were clean, a sign that they went home each night. Naruto's, on the other hand, were very dirty and ragged. His orange sweater had been so torn and burnt that he had to get rid of it, showing his dirt and blood-caked sculpted upper body, which was only covered by a torn fishnet shirt. His pants, which used to go down to above his ankles, now ended at about his knees, and one could see his ramen-printed boxers through the multiple tears in the clothing. Hubby-nay. Stop kicking me. Naruto whined as he ran into the clearing, carrying Anko on his back. Fine, Naru-kin, but you owe me a kiss, Anko said in a sing-song voice. No. Naruto shrieked, dropping Anko and sprinting behind a tree, where he peeked out his head, nervously scanning the clearing. What did she do to him? Was everyone's thought. Calm down, you two. Kasumi sighed, before turning to Anko and Kurenai. Thank you both for agreeing to help train Sakura and Naruto, Kasumi said, with a fractional bow towards the two. It was my pleasure. Remember, no dieting, Sakura, Kurenai said with a slight smile, before disappearing in a leaf shunshin. Yay. See ya, Naru-kun, Anko exclaimed, rushing over to her student, who had cautiously crept out from behind the tree, and grabbed his face, giving him a brief but deep kiss, before disappearing as well, leaving behind a red-faced Naruto. So, what did everyone work on this week? Kasumi asked. Sorry, Kasumi-sensei, I have to go. Naruto called over his shoulder, already running in the direction of the Inuzuka compound. Inuzuka compound. Naruto stopped running at the gates of the Inuzuka compound, and smiled at the two guards. Hey Hashiru, Hyaku, he said to the twin brothers. Hey, Naruto. Geez. What happened to you? Hashiru asked. Hubby-nay. Naruto responded, before walking into the compound. Y'all think we should tell him Anko and Kurenai are visiting Hana? Hashiru asked his brother. Nah. Replied Hyaku with a small smirk. Naruto slid open the doors to the main Inuzuka house. Kabana-chan? He called, looking around. Naruto-kun? In here, Kabana called back. Naruto said nothing, and walked towards the family room, where Kabana's voice was coming from. Sorry I couldn't get back to you. I was training with EHHH, what are you doing here? Naruto screamed, pointing a shaky finger at Anko, who was kneeling around a table with Kurenai, Hana, Sume and Kabana. I don't know what you're talking about, Naru-kun, Anko said innocently. Ah! Naruto screamed, running into the room and hiding behind Kabana. Anko, what did you do to Naruto-kun? Asked Kabana, glaring at aforementioned woman. Who, me? We just did some light training, that's all. Anko said, sipping her green tea and looking at the ceiling. Light training my ass. Naruto muttered, still nestled up against Kabana's back. And would you believe it, but our sweet little Naru-kun took advantage of me during training. He gave me his first kiss, Anko exclaimed, fake pouting. At this both Naruto and Kabana blushed. I believe that honor goes to Kabana, Sume said dryly, sipping her tea. What? When? How? Why? Anko asked, narrowing her eyes at Kabana. Mine. Kabana said, glaring back, spinning slightly and pulling Naruto's face into her cleavage. Well, how about we share? Anko asked innocently. Mine. Kabana responded firmer this time. Not that this isn't amusing to watch, but I believe that Naruto has passed out, Hana said, pointing to the blue-faced, swirly-eyed Naruto. Naruto-kun, Naru-kun. The two arguing females wailed, both shaking Naruto in a panic. Time skip. Inuzuka compound. Naruto awoke to a pounding headache an hour later. Damn. What a way to go, he said groggily, rubbing his eyes. Naruto-kun. I'm so sorry. He turned and saw Kabana standing beside the bed he was in, bowing deeply. Don't worry about it. He chuckled weakly, grabbing her arm and pulling her into a hug. Where am I, if you don't mind me asking? Naruto asked, looking around. Why, you're in my room, Kabana replied, blushing against his chest. Ah, so that's why it smells like you, Naruto said, a bit too loudly. Pervert. Kabana muttered, still hugging him. I have to go home and get change, Kabana. I'll come visit tomorrow if I can. Naruto said, pressing a quick kiss against her lips as she looked up at him. Okay. You better tell me next time you're going to be training for a week, okay? Kabana said, a fake glare on her face. Okay. He said, then blushed. So are we, ya know, like, boyfriend and girlfriend now? Naruto asked hesitantly. Why yay? Kabana responded, blushing as well. Ah. So cute. My Naru-kun's got himself a girlfriend, now he has two, Anko exclaimed from the doorway. Hubine. Naruto said warningly. Oh, stop being such a prick and get used to it. We're sharing you. Anko said, crossing her arms across her chest, accentuating her already large chest. What? Naruto screamed, looking frantically at Kabana, who blushed and mutely nodded her head. And I have no say in this? Naruto asked, already knowing the answer. No, fine. I'll see you both later. I'm going home. Naruto said, giving Kabana another kiss, then, after a moment of deliberation, giving Anko a brief kiss, then walked out the door, with Anko doing a fist pump behind him. Time skip. Training Ground 7. Next day Naruto cracked his neck as he walked into Training Ground 7. Naruto baka. You're late. Sakura screeched. Geez. How I ever liked her, I do not know. Naruto thought to himself. Amen to that, kid. Kurama replied. I'm here before Kasumi-sensei, so I'm technically early. Oh, hey Satsuki, Naruto said. Shut up, Dobi, said everyone's favorite emo. I love you too. Naruto responded, not seeing the light blush on Satsuki's face. Good morning everyone. Sorry I was late. I was at a Jonin meeting filling out the forms for. Liar. Sakura shrieked. The Chunin exam. Kasumi finished, ignoring Sakura's outburst. Sweet. Exclaimed Naruto. Now, Konoha Academy. Naruto opened his eyes to a sharp pain in his side, and Sakura glaring down at him. He had been napping against a tree, waiting for his teammates to show up. Naruto baka. Get up. You're going to make Satsuki-chan and I late for the exam. Sakura shrieked, kicking him again in the side. Naruto groaned and sat up, glaring at Sakura, before turning his back on her and Satsuki, and walking into the academy. After reaching and walking through the open double doors, Naruto and his team headed up the stairs, until they saw a door with a sign beside it that read, Room 301. Wait. We're only on the second floor, and the next door down says, Room 202 feet. Definitely a genjutsu. Naruto deduced. Satsuki walked over to the two door guards, who were harassing a genin in a green spandex suit, with a bowl cut and two caterpillars resting where his eyebrows should have been, and gave them a smirk. Drop the genjutsu you two. We all know that this is the second floor, she said with a self-satisfied smile. Naruto facepalmed. Kya, Satsuki-chan is so smart, squealed the banshee. Naruto sighed and kept going up the stairs, ignoring the shouts of the green-clad weirdo, and walked over to Kasumi. Where are your teammates? Kasumi asked, not looking up from her book. Was that my name written over someone else's name? Naruto wondered. It looks that way, replied Naruto's Resident Evil, sorry, demon. Great. My sensei is not only a pervert, but a pedophile as well, Naruto thought dryly. Says the one that is 13 and dating a 20-some-odd-year-old woman, Kurama responded. Touché. Don't worry, Satsuki-chan. That freak only won because his garish costume distracted you. I bet that's why he wears it, because he is such a bad ninja otherwise. Naruto hears Sakura's voice coming down the hall, followed by Satsuki's usual, in response. Ah. Here they are. Kasumi said, pushing herself up off the wall, before giving her spiel about how everyone had a choice to go to the exams or not, which Naruto only half heard, waiting for his sensei to finish before walking into the real room 301. As Team 7 walked into the room, they were met by a wave of relatively weak killing intent. Key for future reference. Sakura paled, but Naruto and Satsuki ignored it, Satsuki having become more used to it thanks to Zabuza, and Naruto from Zabuza as well as his constant exposure to it during his week of torture, training with Anko. Hey. You're all here, Kabana called, jogging over to the group, followed by Shino and Hinata, where she wrapped her arms around Naruto's neck and gave him a brief kiss, which he happily returned, neither of them noticing Hinata glaring at Kabana, as well as all of the Konoha nin's dumbfounded stares. "You all shouldn't cause such a big commotion. It could give you all unwanted attention," a soft voice reprimanded them. The group of 6 glanced over in the direction of the voice, seeing a creepy yet pretty Kusa nin staring at them disapprovingly. "Hee. Sorry about that." Naruto chuckled, one hand going to scratch the back of his head, the other wrapped around Kababa's waist. Before any other words could be said, there was a plume of smoke coming from the front of the room, and the proctor stepped out. "Scarface ni?" thought Naruto in horror. "Alright brats. Shut up and sit down," Ibiki yelled, waiting until the flurry of motion had died down before he continued. "My name is Ibiki Morino, and I will be the proctor for the first exam," Ibiki said, this time in a quieter but still shouting voice, before proceeding to explain the rules. After the tests were handed out, Ibiki sat down at the front of the room, where he noticed Naruto giving him an accusatory glare. He smirked and winked at his younger brother figure, who mouthed, "I'm on to you," in response. Back with Naruto, he waited until there were a few minutes left until the 10th question, and stood up, walking over to the nearest proctor in disguise, and hit her in the temple, rendering her unconscious. He grabbed her test and walked back over to his desk, where he erased her name and wrote as in. 2 points deducted from Genin Uzumaki for cheating, Ibiki called, internally laughing at the stares Naruto got from the other Genin. A minute later Ibiki stood up and told everyone the last question. Naruto, seeing Sakura's hand start to raise, shot her a glare and slammed his fists down on his desk, drawing everyone's gazes to him. "I don't care if I don't become a Chunin, I'll still become the best Hokage that this world has ever seen," Naruto exclaimed, internally wincing at how ridiculous he sounded. "Haha. Kit. Why you sound so stupid," Kurama howled inside the seal, nearly crying in mirth. "Yay, yay. Laugh it up, furball," Naruto grumbled internally. Seeing that nobody was raising their hands anymore, Ibiki raised his voice. "You all pass," he declared, glaring at Naruto, who stuck his tongue out in response. What about the last question?" screeched Sakura. "That was the 10th question. It was to see if you could make the correct decision under pressure. That is what being a ninja, not just a Chunin or Jonin, is about," Ibiki told her, silencing her inevitable next question with a stern glare. Suddenly the window near the front of the room shattered, and a canvas ball flew in, unfurling to show Anko posing sexily. The sexy and no longer single proctor of the second exam, Anko Mitarashi Uzumaki, it read. Naruto facepalmed. "Anko, you're early. We just finished the test," Ibiki deadpanned. "What? Ibiki, you're slipping. There's 54 people left. That's 18 teams. Oh. Naru-kun," Anko exclaimed, her attention going from Ibiki to Naruto. She suddenly disappeared and reappeared behind Naruto, her arms wrapped around his neck, a snake-like grin on her face. "Ah. Naru-kun. No kiss for your big sister," she fake pouted. Naruto facepalmed for the 3rd time that day. "Anyways, everyone be at training ground 44 in 30 minutes or you're disqualified. Come on, Naru-kun," Anko exclaimed, running towards the forest of death, dragging a crying Naruto behind her. "Why there? Anywhere but there." Naruto's screams faded into the distance. Time skip, training ground 44 30 minutes later. Naruto sighed and glared up at Satsuki from his position on the ground. "Get her off of me," he grunted, referring to Anko who was sitting on his back eating dango. "HN. Love you too," Naruto grunted, scanning the area around him, eyes finally locking on Kabana, who noticed his predicament, and walked over to him. "Anko-san, would you kindly mind getting off my boyfriend's back?" she asked sweetly, a tick mark pulsing on her brow. "Our boyfriend, you mean?" Anko corrected, taking a brief break from eating her dango to lean down and give Naruto a sticky kiss on his cheek. "Yes. Our boyfriend," Kabana growled. Fine. No need to get so angry," Anko pouted, getting off Naruto, and proceeding to explain the rules of the second test to everyone present. "'Cause I'm too lazy to write it you know the shtick." After getting their scroll, a blue one with the kanji for Earth on it, Team 7 headed to their assigned gate, waiting for the bell sounding to start the test. After the test started, Satsuki and Sakura both reluctantly followed Naruto into the Forest of Death, both admitting that he had the best knowledge of what to expect in the Forest of Death. After being attacked by and subsequently defeating an Omegakure team and taking their Heaven Scroll, Team 7 started heading towards the tower in the middle of the forest. "Kit, get down!" Kurama suddenly shouted in Naruto's mind. "Everyone, down!" Naruto shouted to his teammates, echoing the warning. Everyone dropped to the ground, and used their chakra to stick to the ground, with the exception of Sakura, who was blown into a tree. A blisteringly strong wind swept through Team 7, tearing Sakura of the ground and slamming her into a tree, rendering her unconscious, her last words being, "Satsuki-chan, help me." "Oh, very good," purred a seductive voice. Naruto and Satsuki looked around, their backs pressed together, weapons at the ready. "I hope one of you will give me a good challenge. I need a release." The voice continued, soon being revealed to belong to the Kusa-nin from the first exam, as she had dropped down from the tree branch she had previously been perched in. "Kit, you're going to have to go all out if you want to survive," Kurama said gravely. "So I might have to use it?" Naruto asked, referring to one of the hundreds of abilities Kurama had taught him on the bridge. "Yes," was the reply. Naruto furrowed his brow and sent chakra into his eyes, simultaneously concentrating on his Kurama mode. At the same time, both Satsuki and the Kusa-nin's eyes widened as they saw him transform. Naruto crouched, baring his teeth and extending his claws. My. If I bring you back to my master," she spit the last word out as if it was poison. "Then I might be rewarded with a bit more freedom," the Kusa-nin said. Suddenly, her body shuddered, and split apart. A woman wearing a fish-net shirt and black kimono and pants, with a purple lining appeared. Orochimaru from Boruto. Next Gen. Naruto felt his jaw drop as he beheld her. She had silky, mid-back length black hair, pale white skin, and beautiful yellow eyes, with purple beauty marks, as well as a thick purple line on the bottom of her middle lip. "Wow. She's hot," Naruto muttered, not noticing Orochimaru's faint blush at his words. "Yay. I know she's trying to kidnap you and all, but I agree," Kurama stated. "Thanks, cutie. If you stand down, I won't hurt you too much," she finished with a sadistic grin, licking a kunai. "Not on your life, lady," Naruto snarled, lunging at her, Satsuki following suit. The woman sighed and batted Naruto aside and ducking Satsuki's kick. She blocked the following punch, and kneed Satsuki in the gut, her follow-up strike interrupted by Naruto's wild flurry of slashes directed at her back. She ducked, tossing Satsuki to the side, and unleashed a combo of kicks and punches at the Han-yu, who managed to dodge or block all of the hits, thanks to his dojutsu. Not bad. Maybe after my master's finished experimenting on you, I can have you as my little plaything," the woman whispered, suddenly blurring behind Naruto with an arm draped over his right shoulder, her mouth placed right next to his ear as she spoke. Naruto growled, and attempted to elbow her in the gut. She giggled and caught his elbow, and tossed him into the air, then leapt at him, fist cocked back. Naruto curled up, wrapping his tails around himself defensively. The punch connected, and Naruto shot into a tree with a thunderous crack. He howled in pain as he felt his back break, then heal moments later, his healing ability working overtime to fix all the damage. Before he could pull himself out of the cratered tree, the woman appeared in front of him. "Many hidden shadow snake hands," she called, running through a few hand seals, then extending her arms, dozens of snakes shooting out of her sleeves and wrapping around Naruto, some of them sinking their fangs into him or the tree, pinning him against the shattered wood. Naruto shook himself in an effort to get rid of the snakes, to no avail. He looked down, and saw the woman toying with Satsuki, who had activated her Sharingan and was currently launching a fireball at her foe. "Damn it," Naruto growled, blasting his chakra out of all of his tenketsu. His chakra, which was quite toxic, thanks to him merging with Kurama, went through all of the snakes, each one writhing in pain as the purple chakra ate through it. After a few seconds of this, the snakes had either all died or fallen off of Naruto, who was rapidly circulating his chakra throughout his body, burning out all of the poison the snakes had injected into him. He sent his chakra into his feet, the wood cratering even more as he was launched at a high speed towards his snake-wielding opponent. He crashed into her, and he felt her back snap. After the pair skidded to a halt, Naruto leapt off her prone form and over to Satsuki. "You alright?" he asked. "No, I was just beaten into the ground, Dobi." Satsuki glared at him. Suddenly the pale woman chuckled, her body bulging then exploding, an exact replica of her pulling itself out of the corpse. "Not bad, kid. You managed to kill me at half power. You might have won this round, but I'll have my prize before you leave this forest." She laughed, starting to sink into the ground. "No, I can't let her get away," Naruto internally raged. Suddenly his eyes changed, the 4 small white dots in his eyes elongating till they looked like lines on a scope. His left eye burned briefly, and suddenly he could see the glowing outline of a woman hiding underground. "This must be the second level of the Oikomagen," Naruto threw triumphantly. "Kit. Use it now," Kurama ordered. "On it," Naruto responded, sending chakra to his right hand, which now had a purple miasma surrounding it. He pointed his hand at the glowing silhouette of the woman, and pushed his chakra out of his hand. A purple streak blasted out of the miasma and into the earth, where it hit the woman, who burst from the dirt, screeching in pain, clawing at the left side of her neck. "Ah! What did you do to me?" she shrieked, a black tattoo of a lock, as well as a tattoo of the tomos appearing before both dissipated into black particles that disappeared into the light breeze blowing through the forest. "Why, you freed me. Thank you," she cried happily, lunging at Naruto and pulling him into a tight hug. "Freed you? What do you mean? Who are you, anyways?" Naruto asked, confused. The woman blushed, but didn't let go of Naruto. I'm Orochimaru, one of the 3 Sannin. I had a slave seal put on me by my former master, Kabuto, along with a cursed mark, which he also placed on Anko, who is apparently your girlfriend. That chakra attack you used somehow removed both of them, so now I'm free, and I'm going to serve you because I have nothing else to do. And you're very cute," she said, hugging him tighter at the last part. You can come with us, but you need to talk to Gigi before you do anything else," Naruto said sternly, having exited his fox form. "Gigi?" Orochimaru asked curiously, loosening her hug, but still keeping her arms secured around his chest. "The Sandaime. Your teacher, if I remember correctly," Naruto said. I know that Naruto and Orochimaru are both acting very OOC, but who cares?" "Ah, yes," Orochimaru said, pouting cutely. "So are we going to completely disregard the fact that she tried to kill us?" Satsuki asked, an unconscious Sakura hoisted over her shoulder. "No, but I know that Gigi will punish her," Naruto said. Whatever. If she causes any problems, it's your head at stake," Satsuki grumbled. "Whatever. Let's go," Naruto said, and the 3 leapt into the trees. Time skip. Entrance to the tower. After reading the riddle at the entrance of the tower, Naruto unrolled both scrolls and tossed them on the ground, and a puff of smoke appeared. "Congratulations, Naru-kun. You passed the second Naruto." "Get down," Anko yelled, going from a victory pose to leaping at Orochimaru and kicking her away from Naruto. "It's okay, Anko nay. She apparently had a slave seal and cursed seal on her, that I somehow removed with one of my attacks, and now she said she's now going to serve me, or something," Naruto said, grabbing Anko's shoulder before she could leap at Orochimaru. "I told her that she could come with us, but she needs to talk with Gigi first," Naruto finished. "Fine," Anko growled, glaring at Orochimaru. "Stay here," she said, giving Naruto a kiss, then grabbing Orochimaru and disappearing in a shunshin, presumably going to the Hokage. "Satsuki, you go in without me and go to the infirmary. I'll meet you guys there after Anko gets back," Naruto ordered. Satsuki, surprisingly not complaining, nodded and walked into the tower. After a few minutes, Anko reappeared. "Good, you're still here. Sandaime-sama needs to talk with you." "Hold on. Where are your teammates?" Anko asked. "I sent them to the infirmary," Naruto replied. "Okay. Let's get going," Anko said, grabbing Naruto's shoulder, the pair disappearing. Hokage Tower. Hokage's office. Naruto and Anko appeared in the Hokage's office. Hiruzen was sitting at the desk, Orochimaru was sitting on the couch, and Inoichi was standing behind her. "What's up, Gigi?" Naruto asked. Well, first off, I'm very proud of you. You managed to subdue one of the Sannin, as well as convince her to return with you. I had Inoichi scan her mind, and it turns out she was telling the truth. We also found out that Kabuto is disguised as the Kazekage, and that Sanagakure and Otogakure are planning a joint invasion during the final, so we will be able to prepare for that, as well as that he sent Orochimaru-chan to give Satsuki a cursed seal and to bring her to Otogakure after the invasion. On a different note, pun intended, Anko and I were hoping you could use the same attack on her and get rid of her cursed mark. The Sarutobi Patriarch said, nodding to Anko and Orochimaru. Naruto nodded enthusiastically. Sure, anything for Anko-ne. Do you want me to do it now? It's pretty quick, but painful. Naruto said, looking at Anko. Please, do it now. I want it off as soon as possible, Anko begged. Naruto nodded and sent chakra into his pointer and middle fingers of his right hand. Alright, Anko-ne. I need you to show me the seal, Naruto ordered. Anko nodded and slid down her trench coat, revealing her cursed mark on her nape. Naruto walked behind her and pressed his fingers to the mark, then pushed his chakra into it. Anko gritted her teeth and collapsed into Naruto's arms, muffled groans occasionally escaping, her hands clutching her boyfriend's shoulders. After a few minutes, she stopped trembling, and looked up at Naruto with tears in her eyes. Thank you, she whispered, standing up and bringing him into a deep kiss, which Naruto happily returned. Little perv. The Sandame cleared his throat, and the occupants of the room all looked at him. While this is very touching, I'm sure there is a better time for this, he said with a grandfatherly smile on his face. Before I dismiss you all, I have a few requests for you, Naruto-kun. I was hoping you would let Orochimaru-chan stay with you until after the invasion is over, when I will tell everyone the circumstances of her leaving, the elderly Kage asked. Naruto grinned and gave a victory sign. No problem, Habiheim can stay with me as long as she wants, he declared, causing Orochimaru to blush. What about me, Naru-kun? Anko pouted. Of course, Anko-ne, Naruto said, giving her a quick kiss. Very well, that will be all. You're all dismissed. As you all should know, not a word of this should leave this room. I'm making it an S-rank secret. Orochimaru-chan, I'm afraid I'll have to ask to use a henge whenever you go out, and, even then, try to limit your contact with anyone else. You will stay with Naruto in his room in the tower until he can take you to his apartment. Naruto-kun, please have Satsuki expect a visit from me within the next few hours. Now, if there are no more questions, I have to get to training. Gigi? Can I tell Kabana? She comes over a lot, and I don't want to hide anything from her, and she already knows about my tenant and everything, Naruto asked. Sarutobi, knowing of Naruto and Kabana's close relationship, acquiesced. Time skip, Forest of Death Tower, Naruto's room, a few hours later. After checking in with Satsuki and Kabana, getting clothes for Orochimaru, and passionately saying goodbye to Anko, Naruto and Orochimaru went to the former's room, and got settled in. The room was about 5x5x3 meters, and only contained a twin bed, with a chest at the foot for storing things in it, and a wooden desk, stool and trash can, with some paper, ink and brushes on it. The chest had a few of Naruto and Orochimaru's clothes in it. There was a wooden door off to the side, that lead into a small bathroom with a toilet, sink and shower, that was stocked with shampoo, toilet paper and towels. On the bed was a map showing how to get to the cafeteria and arena. So, are we going to share the bed? Orochimaru asked hopefully. If you want to. Otherwise I can have Gigi get me a sleeping bag, Naruto said with a soft sigh. Orochimaru shook her head and hugged Naruto, pressing her chest against his back, a seductive grin on her face. Well, of course I want to. How else can I serve you? She asked cheekily. Naruto turned in her embrace and looked up at her seriously. You don't have to act like that. You can stop wearing that mask, he said tenderly. Orochimaru let her grin drop. How did you know? She asked softly, eyes starting to water. I have one too, Naruto said with a sad smile. Yay, bonding. Naruto's relationship with Orochimaru is moving fast, I get that. The reason is that Orochimaru is one of my favorite characters in the series, and I've never seen a good, in my opinion, Naruto x Fem, Orochimaru story yet, and really want it to happen. Orochimaru's face crumpled, and she buried her face against Naruto's neck, tears trickling down her cheeks. Naruto wrapped his arms around her waist. She stiffened, but then relaxed into his embrace. Naruto led her over to the bed and sat down, pulling Orochimaru onto his lap, where she wrapped her legs around his waist. With one hand, Naruto gently stroked her hair, the other holding her tightly against him. "Shish. That's it, let it out," he whispered comfortingly. Time skip, Naruto's room. An hour later, after about an hour of crying into Naruto's neck, Orochimaru leaned back, still keeping her arms wrapped around Naruto. "Thanks," she whispered with a shaky smile. Naruto offered her a genuine smile back and nodded. "Of course. You can always talk to me," he said softly. Orochimaru let out a watery giggle and leaned against him, once again pushing her face against his neck. "You're too nice, you know. A few hours ago I was trying to kidnap you, and now you're hugging me," she giggled against his chest. "Well, all the better for you." Naruto smiled, pressing a light kiss against the top of her head, before he unwrapped his arms from around her waist, ignoring her moue of displeasure. "I'm going to get some food from the cafeteria. Is there anything you want?" he asked. A.N. This next part will be mostly fluff with a little bit of drama and OOC-ness, just so I can meet my self-set word quota of 5,000 words or more per chapter. Skip it if you dare, coward. Orochimaru nodded, blushing slightly. "Anyo, anything with eggs is fine," Orochimaru said, unintentionally letting out an old verbal tic. Naruto smiled and gave a thumbs up. "No problem, Hubbyheim," Naruto said happily. "Thanks," Orochimaru said, giving him a small but warm smile. Forest of Death Tower, cafeteria. As Naruto walked into the cafeteria, Kabana quickly hurried over to his side. "What's up?" Naruto asked after giving her a kiss, noticing a pensive look on her face. Oh, nothing really. I'm just wondering how many more girls I'm going to have to share you with." Kabana sighed, leaning against her boyfriend. "Huh? What do you mean? It's only you and Anko," Naruto stated, confused. "And soon Orochimaru. Anko and I talked. You can only add 5 more girls to your harem, including Orochimaru," Kabana said sternly. Akamaru barked in agreement. "Huh? 5 more girls? Harem?" Naruto asked, scrunching up his face as he tried to comprehend Kabana's words. "Yes, Naruto. It is painfully obvious that Orochimaru is in love with you," Kabana deadpanned. "But we just met, like, 5 hours ago," Naruto protested, getting a dozen egg rolls for Orochimaru, before heading over to the instant ramen. "Yay, I know. It's probably some sort of reverse Stockholm syndrome," Kabana said. "Reverse Stockdrone? What's that? You're hopeless," Kabana grumbled. "Thanks," Naruto said, balancing his half-dozen cups of instant ramen in his arms. "Whatever. See y'all later," giggled Kabana, leaning forward to deeply kiss Naruto. "MK. Bye," Naruto replied, heading back to his room. As Naruto walked up the stairs, he nearly bumped into Sakura. "Naruto Baka. Watch where you're going," she shrieked. Yay. Sorry Sakura-san," Naruto grumbled, edging past his former crush. Naruto Baka. Do you know where Satsuki-chan is?" Sakura asked hesitantly, in a blessedly quiet voice. "HN," was the only reply she got. "Naruto Baka," she raged. The tower trembled, and a few loose tiles fell off. Naruto's room. Naruto kicked on the door, unable to open it or make a shadow clone to do it for him. "Why didn't I think of making a shadow clone to carry all of this for me?" he grumbled. "Because you're stupid, that's why. At least you're a chick magnet," was the response he got. "Hubbyheim, could you open the door for me?" Naruto asked. There was a few moments of silence, then there was a click, and the door swung open, revealing a puffy-eyed Orochimaru, who smiled upon seeing Naruto and the egg rolls. "Naruto-sama," Orochimaru exclaimed happily. "Hubbyheim, please don't call me that. I'm not one for honorifics," Naruto said with a mock frown, walking into the room and setting the food on the desk, then handing a pair of chopsticks to his roommate, who, instead of responding to his request, pointedly looked away from him and started eating her egg rolls. Time skip, Naruto's room. Half an hour later, after finishing their food, the duo sat on the bed, Orochimaru having placed herself on Naruto's lap, her arms and legs wrapping tightly around him. "Hubby Heim. What's up?" Naruto asked, sensing she was contemplating something. "Nothing. I'm just thinking about my time serving Mas Kabuto." "Do you want to talk about it?" Naruto asked, rubbing her back gently. Orochimaru shook her head before pressing it into the crook of Naruto's neck, tears now trickling down her face. "I'm sorry, hubby Heim," Naruto said. Please don't call me that, Naruto-sama." "That's what he called me," Orochimaru whispered, hugging Naruto even tighter. Naruto's eyes widened. "I'm sorry, Orochimaru-cha." "No, just Orochimaru. Please?" "All right, Orochimaru, but only as long as you don't call me Naruto-sama," Naruto said, lifting her head and smiling gently at her. "Remember, you can always talk to me about anything you want or need to," he reminded the crying woman gently. I said their relationship would go quickly, and I don't even care that it is horribly cheesy and cliché beyond belief. You know you like it. Naruto-kun," Orochimaru whispered, her emotions taking over her, before slamming her lips onto his. Naruto didn't respond at first, but then Kabana's words echoed in his ears, and he returned the kiss, letting her dominate his mouth with her tongue. After a minute of this, Orochimaru pulled back, eyes wide, almost in terror. "I'm sorry, Naruto-sama," she cried, moving a few feet away from him and bowing deeply, her forehead touching the bed. "Hey, look at me," Naruto said, lifting her head once again. Orochimaru briefly met his gaze, then dropped her eyes from his, her body trembling slightly. "Don't be scared. Please. I don't know what that bastard did to you, but I promise I'll treat you as well as I can," Naruto vowed, pulling the shaking woman into his arms, before gently pressing his lips against hers. Orochimaru resisted the hug at first, but nodded, then hesitantly hugged him back. She stiffened and pulled back when Naruto kissed her. "Sorry," Naruto said, wincing. "No, I was just surprised, that's all," Orochimaru said, searching his eyes for any trace of deceit. Seeing none, she softly, slowly pressed her lips against his. Naruto smiled and gently kissed her, letting her deepen the kiss as slowly as she wanted, the kiss eventually returning to the previous tongue duel. After pulling away, Naruto smiled at Orochimaru, who blushed and hid her face against his chest, causing Naruto to chuckle. "Just so you know, you'll have to share me with Kabana and Anko, and possibly up to 4 other women," Naruto informed her. "As long as you still care about me, I'm okay with that," said his newly minted girlfriend. "I'm glad," Naruto said, pulling her in for another kiss. Time skip, Tower Arena. A few days later, Naruto blinked, and refocused his attention on the stage, where the Hayate had just explained to everyone the purpose of having a preliminary, causing everyone to groan. After watching the board flip through names, Hayate announced the first 2 fighters. "Everyone go up to the stands unless you are Satsuki Uchiha or Yoroi Ikado," Hayate called. The preliminaries for the Chunin exam had officially begun. After a brief and boring fight between Satsuki and Yoroi, which ended in the latter being shipped off to the infirmary, Shino and Zaku came down for their match, which resulted in another Konoha win. After 4 other matches, it was finally Naruto's turn. "Naruto Uzumaki and Kabana Inuzuka, please come down to the stadium," Hayate called. The pair jumped down from the stands, grinning viciously at each other. "Hajime!" Hayate shouted, jumping backwards so as to get out of the way of the 2 genin. Immediately after Hayate was safely out of the way, Kabana and Naruto sprang at each other, meeting in midair, their fists firmly implanted in the open palm of the other, a small shockwave emanating from the points of impact. Naruto chuckled quietly. "Not bad, Kabana, but I'm about to take things up a notch." Naruto smirked, discreetly activating the first level of the Oikomagen. Kabana said nothing, choosing instead to roll her eyes, and toss Akamaru a red pill. He took it, and turned red. Kabana flipped through a few hand signs, and called the name of her jutsu. There was a puff of smoke, and then there were 2 copies of Kabana, one standing of the back of the other. "Passing Fang over Fang," she called, lunging forward. Naruto smirked and jumped high into the air, waiting until he was above the spiraling pair of tornadoes. Once they were close enough, he tucked forward and extended both of his legs, resulting in a heavily mutilated flip kick. He rapidly spun towards the ground for a few seconds, then his heels collided heavily with the fronts of the twisters, which both stopped spinning. He then jumped backwards, his heels aching. The twin cabanas, who had both slammed into the ground, stood up and pushed through the cloud of dust rising from the crater they had previously been in. They were both scratched, and they both looked dazed, their eyes unfocused. Naruto took the opportunity to dash forward between the two, socking them both in their guts. The one on his left turned into Akamaru with a puff of smoke. The real Cabana half glared, half smirked at her boyfriend. Nice job," she said, coughing. Naruto winked at her and caught her before she hit the ground. "Winner. Naruto Uzumaki by knockout," Hayate called, signaling for a pair of med nin to collect the two unconscious fighters from the field. Yay, I know. A quicker fight than you expected. I decided I want this chapter to focus mostly on Naruto's fight in the final, as well as his training with Jiraiya, as well as 3 other sensei, who will soon be revealed, as well as some character development. Also, Naruto's not the #1 unpredictable knucklehead shinobi for nothing. After the rest of the matches had concluded, Naruto, who had been in the infirmary, went and checked the matchboard to see who he would be facing. Naruto Uzumaki vs Hinata Hyuga Gaara no Sabaku vs Satsuki Uchiha. Kankuro no Sabaku vs Shino Aburame Tamari no Sabaku vs Shikamaru Nara. Yes, Hinata beat Neji. While I think she is an awesome character, I kind of want to see a few Hinata bashing stories. Also, how else is Naruto supposed to get his Tensigen? And yes, he will be Uber Hack's God mode, but he will always try to win using the least amount of power possible. Naruto, seeing who he would be fighting, shrugged and walked home. Time skip, Hokage Tower, office, Naruto-kun. Thank you for coming in. I know that Kasumi-chan is training Satsuki for her fight against Gaara, so I took the liberty of setting up a training schedule for you. You will be training with Jiraiya-chan, he said, motioning to one of the 3 people standing behind him, a female with long white hair, a sizable bust, and red lines coming from under her eyes. In ninjutsu and fuinjutsu, you will be training with Orochimaru-chan in stealth and assassination, and possibly kenjutsu, he said, motioning to the familiar-looking person behind him, who winked at Naruto and blew him a kiss. Finally, you will be training with Maeda Gai in taijutsu, he said, nodding towards a man with a bowl cut, caterpillars for eyes, and a horrid green spandex suit. Are you related to bushy brows? Naruto asked hesitantly. Yosh. I am not related to my youthful student Rock Lee, as much as I wish I was, Guy wailed, anime tears streaming down his cheeks. Time skip, Naruto's house, Naruto's mindscape, that night. Naruto, come over here. Kurama rumbled. Naruto walked over to Kurama. Earlier, he had changed his mindscape from a sewer to a valley, set deep in some mountains, with a giant forest filled with giant animals, and a hollowed-out, grass-filled bowl for Kurama to sleep in. I have a gift for you. I have been looking at your genetic code, and I was able to find a way to enhance your body and reflexes even more than they already are, as well as giving you an even more enhanced healing factor, which would enable you to open 7 of the 8 gates without repercussion, and open the 8th one, and while you won't die, you will have to rest for a few hours afterwards. I can also give you Shin Ranten, True Storm Release, as well as Shikatsumiku, Dead Bone Pulse, Kurama said. Naruto's jaw hit the grassy floor of his mindscape. Sweet, he exclaimed, leaping into the air with a childish grin on his face. Kurama chuckled and pulled Naruto over to him with one of his tails. Ready? He asked. Naruto nodded, and Kurama gently pressed one of his claws to Naruto's forehead. The young boy started thrashing about helplessly, screaming in pain. Hold on, Kit. Kurama said gently. Time skip, Naruto's house, morning. Naruto yawned and sat up, feeling sore all over, and walked into his bathroom, turning on the shower, and stepping in once it was heated up. Damn. That hurt, he muttered, looking down at his naked body. Holy shit. He mentally exclaimed. To put it simply, he was ripped. While he had always been muscular, he never looked as buff as he was now. He had the body of a god. His bulging muscles were stuffed with power. While he had big muscles, they were toned down, giving him the look of a runner, not a wrestler. Like the Hokage, he experimentally poked one of his pecs, and found it as hard as steel. Damn, Kurama. What exactly happened to me? Naruto asked. Well, when I gave you dead bone pulse, your bones became super hard and dense, and became harder than steel, although they are now diamond hard, as when I enhanced your body, it inadvertently enhanced your dead bone pulse. Your skin is as hard as rock, and your muscles are harder than steel. All things considered, I think I did a pretty damn good job. Kurama bragged proudly. I'll say you did. Is it all right if I tell Gigi and my sensei what happened, just so they can train me most effectively? Naruto asked hesitantly. Of course. As a side note, I'll be teaching you some taijutsu, so see if you and Guy can focus on the Hachiman. I'll also help teach you how to use your 2 new bloodlines. Kurama stated. After getting the go-ahead, Naruto finished his shower, ate a massive breakfast, then sprinted down to the Hokage tower, easily reaching high Chunin speed. He sped up the stairs and kicked open the doors to the Hokage's office. Luckily for him, all 3 of his sensei were meeting in Hiruzen's office. Gigi, sensei, before we start, I need to tell you guys a few things. Naruto exclaimed, not even breathing heavily. Sarutobi and Naruto's 3 sensei looked over at him, eyebrows raised. Go on, said Sarutobi, a small smile visible on his face. After telling them all of what happened, the 4 other people in the room all huddled around the Hokage's desk, muttering furiously. While Naruto easily could have eavesdropped on their conversation, he chose not to. Alright, Naruto-kun, we have a new schedule for you, Guy exclaimed, doing his nice guy pose. I will be teaching you how to open the Hachiman, and how not to get tunnel vision when using it. Jiraiya-sama will be teaching you the same things, but less ninjutsu, and more fuinjutsu than planned, and Orochimaru-sama will be teaching you the same things, but definitely kenjutsu, as you can make a sword using your dead bone pulse. Why, this will be the most youthful endeavor. Here is the schedule for this week. Maida Guy exclaimed, handing Naruto a freshly drawn schedule. Mondays, Sensei. Maida Guy, lesson. Gate of opening. Tuesdays, Sensei. Jiraiya, lesson. Rasengan. Wednesdays, Sensei. Orochimaru, lesson. Intro to Kenjutsu. Thursdays, Sensei. Maida Guy, lesson. Gate of healing. Fridays, Sensei. Jiraiya, lesson. Rasengan. Saturdays, Sensei. Orochimaru, lesson. Intro to Kenjutsu. Sundays, Sensei. Variable, lesson. Anything unfinished. Yash, we all have high expectations for you, my youthful student, but you can do it, for your flames of youth are bright, and if they dampen, I will run 1,000 laps around Konoha on my hands, and if I cannot do that, I will climb the Hokage monument using only my teeth, and... Guy's impassioned speech was cut off by Hiruzen smacking Guy's head with a cane he pulled out of nowhere. Training Ground 9. Naruto was panting hard. He, along with hundreds of his shadow clones, had been trying to open the gate of opening for the past dozen hours. It was dark out, the moon and stars providing the only source of light. Come on, my youthful student. One more try, Guy crowed, doing his patented, nice guy, pose. Naruto grunted, and dispelled his clones, waiting until the influx of knowledge had been sorted out. Then he stood up, and crossed his arms in an X, and focused heavily. Gate of opening. Open. He roared, pushing all of his energy to his brain. Suddenly, the ground beneath Naruto shook, small stones and clumps of dirt flying up beside him, and waves of energy surrounding him. After a few seconds, this died down. Naruto felt power coursing through his body, and he took of running. While he had previously been able to go high Chunin speed, he was easily going Hokage level then. He shot towards the Hokage monument, and shot up it, using only his speed. He did a few laps along the face of the mountain, then shot back over to Guy, who was grinning proudly. Yash, you are truly a genius of hard work, Naruto-kun. Guy shouted happily when Naruto reached him, extending a fist. Naruto laughed happily and fist bumped Guy, then waited until the gate closed, before running to Ichiraku Ramen for a few dozen bowls, before heading home, saying goodnight to Orochimaru, and falling asleep, where he goes to his mindscape to begin training with Kurama. Naruto's mindscape. As Naruto entered his mindscape, he saw Kurama grinning at him. Kurama, what's with that smile? You're making me really nervous. Naruto asked, chuckling nervously. Oh, you'll see, Kit. Prepare for hell, laughed Kurama, extending a claw and poking Naruto on his forehead, transferring the knowledge of the chakra control exercises for wind, water and lightning. Get started, he rumbled. Naruto sighed and produced 300 shadow clones, and instructed them to start working. The clones split into 3 groups. The first group sat down and began trying to cut a leaf in half with wind chakra, the second group trying to make the leaf crumple using their lightning chakra, and the third group trying to draw the moisture out of the leaf using their water chakra. Very good. Follow me, Kurama instructed, leading Naruto a few hundred meters away. Okay, what now? Naruto asked, getting poked once more in the forehead, receiving the knowledge of how to manipulate his bones, as well as the first of 6 dances, the dance of the willow, in which one grows several long bone blades from their body for use as weapons. The dance form is incredibly acrobatic, using spins, charges, and long sweeping slashes to make the strikes more effective and to evade opponents' counter strikes. I'm just copying the dances and information from the Narutopedia. Also, I know there are only 5 dances, but I'm making a special one for Naruto. After taking a few hours to familiarize himself with his new bloodline, Naruto called out the name of the first dance, and started to sprout slightly curved bones from his body. Kurama reached out and tapped the ground, where a faceless human form, constructed from his chakra, rose from the ground. The figure pulled to chakra made kunai out of nowhere, and leapt at Naruto at low Chunin speed. Naruto, not remembering the principle behind the dance, crossed his arms and let the bones out of them block the kunai. As soon as he did this, the figure jumped away, and Naruto was swatted backwards by Kurama, furrowing the ground beneath him. Kit, remember the purpose of the dance. Evade, don't block, Kurama said. Naruto frowned and nodded, then got back up and began again, finally mastering the dance after a few hours. So, are we done now? Naruto asked tiredly. Even though he was in his mindscape, he still was able to get tired from using so much mental power. Don't question it. Just accept it. Oh, not even close. What you don't know, is that an hour outside, is a day in here, and we've still got about 4 hours left outside. You do the math. Kurama chuckled evilly, eliciting a groan from Naruto. After sitting up, Naruto is poked once again in the forehead, receiving the knowledge of how to do the dance of the camellia and the dance of the larch. Alright, Kit, you will only be practicing the dance of the larch for now, as you will learn Kenjutsu from Orochimaru. Kurama explained. Naruto nodded, and crossed his arms, like he was about to open one of the 8 inner gates. Dance of the larch, Naruto called. From his body, several bones popped out all at once. From what he learned about this dance, he knew that stronger the opponent's physical attack, the more powerful the counter-attack is, dealing severe damage. The sudden defense, combined with the needle-like bone's high killing ability, makes way for a technique which has great potential for battle. The bones can be used to block or trap an opponent's taijutsu strikes. In addition to being an unwelcome surprise for opponents, it makes the user basically untouchable at close range. If an opponent would start to get close to them, they would begin to spin rapidly, slashing the foe in multiple areas. Once again, Kurama made a chakra clone, who got into an unknown taijutsu stance. What's that taijutsu stance? Naruto asked. That is the opening stance of Nensho Kitsune no Ken, or Burning Fox Fist. It is the taijutsu style that I will be teaching you later on. Now enough stalling. Get working, Kurama said. The chakra clone lunged at Naruto, launching into an odd spin kick, once again moving at low Chunin speed. Naruto moved his arms slightly, and tangled the offending foot in between some of the bone spikes jutting from his arms, before spinning gracefully in a maneuver that would have broken the clone's foot had it been made of flesh and bone, and slammed the clone's body into the ground, before disengaging the foot from his bone spikes, and, while continuing the spin, lashed out with a fist, the bone spines elongating just enough so they sliced through the clone's back. Very good, Kit, again, Kurama rumbled. Naruto obliged. Time skip, Naruto's mindscape, 3 days later. Naruto struggled to his feet, and settled once again into the opening stance of the burning fox fist, and glared wearily at the dozen or so chakra clones that were arrayed in front of him, some in taijutsu stances, others holding chakra kunai, shuriken or swords. Stand down, Kit, you're done training. I'm very proud of you. You managed to learn all 5 of the traditional dead bone pulse dances, as well as the dance of the bloody foxglove, along with the non-dance abilities. Now that you have mastered Burning Fox Fist with a liberal amount of shadow clones, I have one last ability to teach you. It is called the All-Killing Ash Bones. It is a certain kill technique. The user hardens their own bones and protrudes them out of the skin, and then fires these weaponized structures at the intended target. When these bones pierce a living organism, the bone and target starts to deteriorate at a molecular level, disintegrating the victim and reducing their bodies to nothing more than a pile of ash. Kurama said gravely, slowly reaching out to poke Naruto on the forehead once again. Do not try this ability now. You were quite tired after almost 4 days of non-stop training. I'm quite proud, Kit, Kurama said, pulling the dirty Naruto over to him using one of his tails, and licking the boy along the side of his face. Naruto squealed in surprise, and snuggled deeply into Kurama's warm fur. Night, Chu-san, he mumbled sleepily. Good night, Kit, Kurama rumbled, curling up around his adopted son, and closing his eyes. Yes, Kurama and Naruto have a father-son relationship. Deal with it. Time skip, Naruto's apartment. Next morning, Naruto woke to someone shaking him awake. Oi, brat, get up, we don't have all day. The person snapped. Actually, we do. Mornin' Jiraiya-sensei. Naruto grunted tiredly, wiping the sleep from his eyes. Yay, morning, brat, the now-named Jiraiya said, waving her hand dismissively. Gimme a minute to eat. Naruto grunted, sliding out of bed, his bare feet slapping loudly on the polished wood floor. Hurry up, I'll be waiting outside, Jiraiya said, crossing her arms under her chest and walking outside. Time skip, Training Ground 7, that afternoon. Alright, brat, the second step of the Rasengan has the same principle as the first. You are trying to pop this rubber ball with your chakra. The only difference between this step and the first is that you need to use a lot of power, not control. Jiraiya said, giving her student a wicker basket filled with patterned rubber balls, before jumping back onto the tree branch she had previously occupied. After making a few hundred shadow clones, the clones got to work, and Naruto walked over to the tree and sat below Jiraiya. Brat, why aren't you working like your clones? Jiraiya asked, dropping down to sit beside her charge. I was training all last night with Kurama, so my head already hurt, and now I have a killer headache from when all my shadow clones dispelled after I finished the first step. Naruto groaned, spinning sideways and plopping his head in Jiraiya's lap, before stretching out on the ground and closing his eyes. Brat, what are you doing? Brat, Jiraiya asked, startled at first. She got no response. Whatever, she grumbled, absent-mindedly running a hand through Naruto's hair, before she caught herself and retracted her hand. It had been a few hours since the clones had started practicing, when Orochimaru dropped down beside Jiraiya. Hello, hubby Tem. Jiraiya tersely. Gamma Tem, replied Orochimaru shortly. What do you want? I just came to check up on my boyfriend to make sure you aren't corrupting him. Orochimaru snarled, gently pulling Naruto's head from Jiraiya's lap onto hers, where she started gently caressing his sleeping face, a gentle smile on her face. Oh, whatever, you get him tomorrow. Shoo, Jiraiya said, shaking Naruto awake. Why'd you wake me up, Jiraiya-sensei? Naruto grumbled, slowly opening his eyes. You've had enough rest time. Jiraiya grumbled to the boy, who groaned and rubbed his eyes. He said, before looking up at Orochimaru, a large smile gracing his face. Orochimaru, he said happily, leaning up slightly to kiss her lightly. Hello, Naruto-kun, said Snake Summoner replied warmly. Well, I gotta get back to my training, but how about you and me go out to Ichiraku's tonight for dinner? Naruto asked, sitting up and stretching. Sounds good to me, Orochimaru said happily, pecking Naruto on the cheek before standing up and disappearing in a swirl of leaves and a small, girlish giggle. All right, Back to training, Jiraiya ordered. Naruto nodded and wordlessly dispelled the clones, before making a new batch, who he joined in trying to pop the rubber ball. Time skip, Naruto's apartment, that night. You did good, brat. I'll see you in 3 days. Jiraiya said, having walked Naruto back to his apartment. Sounds good. See you then, Jiraiya-sensei. Naruto said, waiting till she jumped away before shutting the door. Ah, Naruto-kun, I just remembered that I'm not supposed to go out without a henge, and I want our first date together to be without a henge. Orochimaru said, walking into the room with a sad frown on her face. Naruto smiled and wrapped his arms around her waist. Don't worry about it, now we can have some more alone time together. Naruto said happily, instantly cheering up his girlfriend. Yay, thanks, Naruto-kun, Orochimaru said, hugging him tightly and pressing her forehead into the crook of his neck. The couple stood there like that for a couple minutes, until there was a knocking at the door. Henge into Cabana, I'll get the door, Naruto said lowly, before walking over to the door and opening it. Oh, hi there, Cabana, come on in, Orochimaru, you can drop the henge, Naruto said, grabbing Cabana by the hand and leading her in, quickly closing the door behind her. Hello, Cabana-san, Orochimaru said, a small, slightly disappointed smile on her face. Ah, none of that san business. Just call me Cabana, we are both dating Naruto, after all, Cabana said with a sly smirk on her face, before pulling Naruto in for a deep kiss, that he happily returned, before pulling back. Don't worry, Orochimaru, I didn't forget about you, he said, pulling her to his chest and kissing her deeply. So, is there something you need, or is this just a social visit? Naruto asked Cabana. Just a social visit, she replied, setting Akamaru down on the ground, where he ran into Naruto's room and fell asleep on the bed. Perfect, Orochimaru, what do you want to do? He asked, knowing that she was sad that they didn't get to have one-on-one time. Nothing, I'll just go make myself some ramen, she said softly, turning back towards the kitchen. None of that, Naruto chastised her, tickling her sides, getting a squeal in return. Ah, sorry, I should have realized that you two wanted some alone time. Cabana winced, before Naruto grabbed both of their hands and dragged them into the living room, where he had his TV. Alright, what do you guys want to watch? He asked, pulling out a box full of CDs. After flipping through the box, the girls eventually settled on the first Princess Gale movie, and after making some popcorn, the three settled down to watch the movie. Time skip, Forest of Death Stadium, 1 month later. Warning. The following fight scene may be disturbing to some readers. Now, let the Chunin exams begin, exclaimed Genma. Everyone except Naruto Uzumaki and Hinata Hyuga, please go to the stands. He called once the applause had died down. Naruto and Hinata turned to each other, Hinata glaring fiercely at Naruto. What did I do? He asked, bewildered. Hajime, Genma called, jumping back to the edge of the stadium. Hinata shed her coat, tossing it up to Kurenai in the stands. Lock on, she said, aiming the pointer and middle fingers of her right hand at Naruto's face, waiting a second before she lunged at him. Naruto ducked, surprised at how vicious her attacks were, as he continued to back up, occasionally swatting aside some of the blows from Hinata. Sending chakra into his eyes, he activated his dojutsu. Seeing this, Hinata kicked up dust with a chakra-enhanced foot to the ground. Naruto, not expecting this, failed to dodge the next blow, even with his high Chunin speed. 2 of Hinata's fingers dug into his left eye socket, neatly scooping out the eye within. Naruto screamed in pain. Up in the stands, Naruto, Cabana and the hanged Orochimaru both shrieked, both being prevented from jumping into the arena by Jiraiya's firm grip around their waists. I'm gonna kill that bitch. They both vowed silently. Arena, Naruto gritted his teeth and lashed out blindly, one hand pressed over his empty eye socket. Kit, calm down, focus, panicking isn't going to do you any good, Kurama yelled in Naruto's mind. The blonde Jinchuriki nodded, and jumped away from Hinata, who dropped his eye on the floor and stomped on it. It popped with a wet squelch. Naruto fixed his good eye on Hinata, and dropped into the opening stance of the Burning Fox Fist, waiting until Hinata once again dropped into her Juken stance. Kurama, I have an idea. Do you think you'll be able to do it? Naruto asked, telling Kurama his plan. Without a doubt, Kurama replied, grinning inside Naruto's mindscape. I'll even be able to make it better. I'll unlock the final stage, one that hasn't been seen since the time of the Rakuto Sennin. Kurama added. Perfect, Naruto said. Hinata lunged at Naruto, swiping her hand at his other eye. Naruto shifted his weight forward, and ducking under the swipe, rocketed his fist into Hinata's stomach. The young kunoichi coughed up a minuscule amount of blood, and clutched her stomach. Continuing his charge, Naruto spun and grabbed her throat with his other hand, and violently slammed her into the ground. Then he reached up and plucked her left eye out of the socket, eliciting a scream of agony from her. Then, instead of crushing it like she did to his eye, he gingerly placed the eye in his empty eye socket, then jumped backwards. Hinata shrieked in anger, and got to her feet, dropping back into her Juken stance. Naruto smirked at her and dropped back into his opening stance, this time sending fire chakra to his fists and feet, which ignited with flames, drawing a gasp from the audience. Without waiting, Naruto dashed at his opponent, jump twisting over her horizontal strike, and delivered a vicious flaming kick to her jaw, sending her stumbling backwards. Before he could capitalize on the opening, his left eye started burning. Naruto jumped backwards a few meters, and waited until the burning stopped. Unknown to him, his hue milky white eye changed. Naruto sent chakra into his left eye, which glowed briefly. The white pupil became light blue, and a yellow floral pattern formed around the iris. His vision changed suddenly, and he could see all around him, with no blind spots whatsoever. He suddenly groaned as an influx of information rushed into his brain. Kurama, what did you do? Naruto asked his tenant. I changed your Byakugan into a Tenseigan, which is the final form of said dojutsu. I also took the liberty of giving you knowledge of all its abilities, along with the attacks and martial art form of the Juken. Kurama replied happily. Sweet, Naruto muttered, dropping into a stance that looked like a mix of gentle fist and flaming fox fist, his fists and feet still flaming. Up in the stands. What? Impossible. There's no way he could have unlocked the Tenseigan. It's only a legend. Hiyashi Hyuga thought in dismay, his hands clutching the metal railing surrounding the arena. Hinata, lone eye blazing with fury, cheek burnt, shrieked inaudibly and lunged at Naruto, no longer attacking with gentle fist, but swinging wildly at Naruto. As soon as she was close enough, Naruto changed his stance. 8 trigrams 64 palms gentle step twin blaze fox fists. He exclaimed, 2 blue foxes made of wind chakra forming around his fists. The foxes quickly caught on fire, courtesy of his already flaming fists, the blue becoming an angry red. Naruto struck. A.N. Adaptation of gentle step twin lion fists. 2 palms. 4 palms. 8 palms. 16 palms. 32 palms. 8 trigrams 64 palms gentle step twin blaze fox fists. Naruto yelled with each consecutive strike. With each blow, the fire wind chakra that Naruto had sent into Hinata's tenketsu spread throughout her chakra network, microscopic blades of superheated wind cutting her chakra pathways at a molecular level, rendering them forever useless. Kind of like his Rasenshuriken, which he will get but only a better version. Ah, what did you do to me? Hinata shrieked, stumbling backwards, before her eyes. Sorry, I rolled upwards, and she collapsed, unconscious. Damn, Kit, that was awesome. We are such a badass. Kurama stated smugly. I'm the one that did it. Naruto exclaimed, deactivating his Tenseigan, which still retained the floral pattern, showing that the eye was no longer able to switch back to the normal Byakugan. And who gave you the knowledge of how to do that? Kurama asked rhetorically. Touché, Naruto grumbled, walking over to Kabana, completely ignoring Genma declaring his victory, as well as the stunned silence of the audience. Nice job, Kabana commented offhandedly, kissing Naruto deeply. Thanks, Naruto muttered tiredly, laying his head on her lap and closing his eyes, his awareness of the outside world fading to nothingness as sleep overtook him. Time skip, Forest of Death Arena, a few hours later. Naruto was shaken awake by a frantic Kabana. What's going on? Naruto groaned, sitting up. I don't know. That Gaara chick turned into a weird sand monster. Then there was an explosion from the cage box. Then Hokage-sama and Kazekage-sama disappeared. And then there was a genjutsu that put almost everybody to sleep. Then Gaara collapsed and her siblings grabbed her and ran off. Then Satsuki and Sakura went after them. Kabana exclaimed, her eyes wide and wild. Calm down, Kabana. It'll be alright. Go find Kurenai-san and see what she wants you to do. I'm going after Gaara and my team. Which way did they go? Naruto asked gently, kissing Kabana lightly, before running in the direction that Kabana pointed. Hang on, Satsuki, I'm coming. He thought grimly. The end. I hope you enjoyed this episode. Remember to subscribe and like this video. See you in the next part.